I made dinner. Homemade pasta, the kind that takes 3 hours to make, the kind you make when you want to show someone you care. I made Derek's favorite sauce. I set the table carefully, I lit candles. I was so excited. Derek came home at 7. Derek kissed me. Derek said the kitchen smelled amazing. Derek looked happy. And then I took my first bite of pasta. And as I sat there with my fork halfway to my mouth, I noticed something. Something small. Something that suddenly made sense of everything that had been confusing me for months. Derek had already eaten. Derek wasn't hungry. Derek had come home full, already satisfied, and had no intention of eating the meal I'd spent hours preparing. And in that one moment, I understood. I understood what Derek's choice to come home already full meant. I understood what Derek's willingness to let me cook and hope, knowing Derek wouldn't join me, revealed about our marriage. That one moment changed everything. This is my story. My name is Tasha. I met Derek 7 years ago at a friend's birthday party. Derek was charming. Derek was attentive. Derek made me laugh. We started dating. We fell in love slowly, naturally, without pressure. Derek said he'd never met anyone like me. Derek said I made him want to be a better man. Derek said he saw a future with me. We got engaged at a restaurant in the city. Derek took me on a spontaneous weekend trip when Derek proposed, something I'll never forget. We got married 4 years ago. Our wedding was beautiful. Our honeymoon was perfect. Derek looked at me during our vows like I was the most precious thing in his world. For the first 3 years of our marriage, Derek would cook with me. Derek and I would plan meals together. Derek would look forward to dinner. We'd eat together, talk together, dream together. Derek made me feel like I was his priority. Derek made me feel like being with me was what Derek wanted most. I loved Derek with everything I had, and I believed Derek loved me the same way. I was so wrong about what Derek's love actually meant. About a year ago, things started to change. I didn't notice it all at once. It happened slowly, in small ways that I almost talked myself into ignoring. Derek started coming home later. Not dramatically later, just later. Derek would arrive at 7 o'clock, then 7:30, then sometimes 8. Derek would say Derek was caught up at work. Derek had meetings running long. Derek had stayed late to finish a project. Derek always had a reasonable explanation. But then Derek started saying Derek wasn't very hungry. Derek would eat a light lunch at work. Derek would grab something on the way home. Derek's appetite seemed to have changed. Derek started spending less time in the kitchen. Derek stopped asking what I was making. Derek stopped suggesting meals Derek wanted to cook together. When Derek did come home, Derek would go straight to the home office to finish work. I attributed it to Derek being busy. Derek had been promoted. Derek had new responsibilities. Derek's job was demanding. This was Derek's success, something I should be proud of. But underneath, something in me knew. Some part of me knew that Derek wasn't just busy. Derek was pulling away. I mentioned it to Derek. I said, I miss you. I miss us cooking together. I miss eating dinner together. Derek said, I know. Work has just been crazy. It'll calm down soon. Derek kissed my forehead. Derek said Derek loved me. Derek held me close. But Derek didn't change anything. I kept cooking. I kept hoping that Derek would remember what we had. I kept believing that Derek would come back to me once Derek's busy season ended. Derek never came back. I decided to do something special. I hadn't done a full dinner date night in months. Derek had been so busy, so stressed. I thought maybe what Derek needed was a reminder of what we had. I thought maybe Derek needed to feel pursued again. So I planned everything. I made my homemade pasta from scratch. Derek had said it was the best thing I'd ever made. I made the sauce Derek loves. I bought expensive wine. I set the table carefully. I put the good plates out. I lit candles. I wore the dress Derek said made me look beautiful. I did my hair and makeup. I was excited. I was hopeful. I believed that tonight, Derek would remember that I was worth coming home for. Derek would remember that I was worth being present for. Derek arrived at 7 o'clock, right on time. I heard Derek's car pull into the driveway and my heart lifted. I was so ready for the evening. Derek came through the door. Derek saw the candles. Derek saw the table. Derek saw me. Derek said, "This is nice. You look beautiful." And then Derek went to the bathroom. Derek came back. Derek sat at the table with me. Derek smiled at me. And I dished out the pasta. I put it on Derek's plate. I poured Derek a glass of wine. Derek thanked me. Derek said it smelled good. And then I took my first bite of pasta, and as I lifted my fork to my mouth, I watched Derek. I watched how Derek held his fork. I watched Derek's body language, and I realized Derek wasn't hungry. Derek wasn't avoiding the food because Derek wasn't interested. Derek was avoiding the food because Derek had already eaten. Derek's stomach was full. Derek had consumed a meal before coming home. A meal Derek had not told me. A meal Derek had kept from me. Derek was going through the motions. Derek was pretending. Derek was showing up physically, but completely absent from the moment. And the realization hit me so hard, I couldn't take another bite. I sat there at that table, looking at Derek, and everything became clear. Not clear in a good way. Clear in a way that was absolutely devastating. Derek coming home full meant Derek had decided to eat without me. Derek had made the choice to satisfy Derek's hunger elsewhere, then come home to watch me eat alone. Derek had no intention of joining me at our dinner table. Derek had never intended to be present for this moment I'd planned. And once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. Suddenly, all the small inconsistencies I'd been ignoring made perfect sense. Derek coming home later and later, Derek was eating dinner somewhere else. Derek eating out. Derek having meals without me. Derek not interested in cooking together anymore. Derek was already eating those meals with someone else. Derek being distant and withdrawn. Derek was emotionally checked out because Derek's emotional energy was being directed somewhere else. Derek's body language at the table. Derek wasn't uncomfortable because Derek was full. Derek was uncomfortable because Derek was guilt-ridden. Derek had been slowly removing himself from our marriage. Derek had been slowly removing himself from our life together. Derek had been creating a separate life that didn't include me. And Derek had the audacity to come home and let me cook and hope and prepare, knowing Derek had no intention of participating. I looked at Derek sitting across from me. Derek was checking Derek's phone. Derek was not looking at me. Derek was not present. And I realized my husband doesn't love me anymore. My husband has checked out. My husband is already gone, and I'm just now noticing the empty seat where Derek used to be. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply stood up, put my fork down, and walked away from the table. I left Derek sitting there. Derek could finish Derek's fake participation in our marriage on Derek's own time. After I left the table, Derek followed me. Derek asked what was wrong. Derek said I was overreacting. Derek said it was just about being hungry or not hungry, but I knew better. I knew that it wasn't about the dinner, it was about what Derek's choice revealed. So I asked Derek questions. I asked Derek directly. "Have you been eating dinner with someone else?" I asked. Derek didn't answer right away. Derek looked away. "Derek, answer me. Have you been having meals with someone else? Meals you haven't told me about?" Derek said, "It's not what you think." Derek didn't deny it, just deflected. "How long?" I asked. "How long have you been eating meals without me? How long have you been building a life I'm not part of?" Derek said Derek didn't know what I was talking about. But I did. I knew exactly what Derek was talking about. Derek was having meals with coworkers. Derek was having business lunches that extended into dinners. Derek had been slowly building an entirely separate social and professional life that Derek kept from me. And Derek had stopped inviting me. Derek had stopped including me. Derek had stopped seeing me as Derek's partner. I started therapy the next week. My therapist helped me understand that what I was experiencing wasn't just about a missed dinner. It was about emotional neglect. It was about Derek slowly withdrawing partnership. It was about Derek checking out. My therapist asked me, "How long have you felt invisible in your marriage?" And I broke, because the answer was months, maybe longer. I had become invisible to Derek. Derek was going through the motions of marriage while emotionally absent. And at dinner, Derek showing up full, not planning to eat, letting me prepare and hope alone, was Derek's final devastating message. Derek doesn't see me anymore. Derek doesn't value me anymore. Derek doesn't want to build this life with me anymore. Derek had already left. I was just finally seeing it. I sat Derek down. I was calm. I was clear. I had done my work in therapy, and I knew exactly what I needed to say. Derek, I know you've checked out of our marriage. I know you've been creating a life that doesn't include me. I know you came home full that night, having eaten without me, having no intention of being present at our table. Derek started to protest. I held up my hand. Don't lie to me. I'm not asking for your permission to leave. I'm telling you what I know. And I need to know. Is there someone else, or have you just decided you don't want to be married to me anymore? Derek was quiet for a long time. Then Derek said, "There is someone else, someone from work, but it's not physical." "I don't care what it is," I said quietly. "The point is, Derek chose someone else. Derek chose to create a life that doesn't include me. Derek chose to let me cook and hope while Derek was already full from someone else's table." Derek tried to explain. Derek said the marriage had become stale. Derek said Derek felt unseen. Derek said Derek needed excitement. So instead of telling me, instead of going to therapy, instead of working on our marriage, Derek just left emotionally and started building something with someone else. Derek let me keep cooking. Derek let me keep hoping. Derek let me keep believing we were still building something together while Derek was already gone. Derek cried. Derek said Derek was sorry. Derek said Derek never meant to hurt me. "But you did hurt me," I said. Not because of the other person, because Derek showed me that Derek's capacity for presence, for honesty, for partnership, it's smaller than I thought. Derek showed me that when things got hard, Derek just checked out instead of fighting for us. Derek had nothing left to say. That dinner, the moment I took one bite and realized Derek had already eaten, that wasn't just about the meal. It was a metaphor for our entire marriage. Derek had stopped showing up. Derek had stopped being present. Derek had checked out while I kept showing up. I kept preparing. I kept hoping. I kept believing we were still building something together. And Derek let me. Derek let me waste energy and hope and love on something Derek had already decided to leave. The most devastating part wasn't the affair. It wasn't even the dishonesty. It was that Derek had been slowly removing himself from our marriage while I was still fully invested. Derek had been feeding Derek's emotional and social hunger elsewhere while I was still trying to nourish our partnership. Derek had already eaten. Derek was already full. And Derek came home to watch me consume the meal alone. That's what emotional neglect looks like. That's what it feels like when someone you love decides you're not worth being present for. That's what it means when someone chooses to let you hope while they've already moved on. I realized that Derek didn't love me less because I wasn't enough. Derek loved me less because Derek had stopped trying. Derek had given up on us and then blamed me for not noticing sooner. I filed for divorce. I'm still in that process. It's painful, it's uncertain, but it's clearer than staying in a marriage where only one person is showing up. Derek still doesn't understand what Derek did wrong. Derek still thinks it's about the affair, about the other person. Derek doesn't understand that Derek's real betrayal was the slow removal of self from our marriage while I kept showing up. Derek had already eaten, Derek was already full, and Derek came home to watch me consume the meal alone. That's what emotional neglect looks like. That's what it feels like when someone you love decides you're not worth being present for. That's what it means when someone chooses to let you hope while they've already moved on. And that's a message I can't unhear. After I realized Derek was gone, I had to decide what I was going to do with that knowledge. I could have stayed. I could have tried to make Derek come back. I could have begged Derek to choose me again. I could have waited for Derek to feel less numb and more present. But I'd already spent months, maybe longer, waiting for Derek to show up. I couldn't do it anymore. My mother came and stayed with me for a week. My mother held me while I cried. My mother told me, "You deserve someone who can't wait to get home to you. You deserve someone who would choose to sit at your table even if they weren't hungry, just to be with you." My best friend Kenya helped me move out. Kenya brought wine and music and made the painful process of dividing a life less isolating. Kenya reminded me that I was strong enough to do this, even though it was terrifying. I went to therapy twice a week. I processed the betrayal. I processed the grief. I processed the complicated reality that Derek hadn't done anything illegal or dramatic. Derek had just slowly, methodically stopped loving me and hadn't told me. And I started rebuilding. I started doing things for myself. I started cooking again, but not for Derek. I cooked for me. I made meals I wanted to eat. I sat at my own table and nourished myself. I learned that I had been so focused on being Derek's wife that I'd forgotten how to be my own woman. I learned that I'd been so invested in Derek's presence that I'd made Derek's presence my whole world. And I learned that the woman I became in the process, someone who can survive heartbreak and come out whole on the other side, that woman is extraordinary. Derek's absence, as painful as it was, taught me about my own presence. I learned that I'm enough. I learned that my worth isn't determined by someone else's capacity to see me. I learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away from someone who stopped walking with you. The divorce will be finalized soon, and when it is, I won't feel like I've lost something. I'll feel like I've reclaimed something. I'll feel like I've taken back the part of myself that Derek was neglecting. People have asked me if I miss Derek. They've asked me if I regret the divorce. They've asked me if I still love Derek. And my answer is no, no, and no. I miss the Derek I thought Derek was. I missed the version of Derek who showed up fully. I missed the marriage I believed we were building. But I don't miss Derek as Derek actually is, someone who checked out and then blamed me for not noticing sooner. That dinner, the moment I took one bite and realized Derek had already eaten, that was the kindest thing Derek ever did for me. That moment gave me clarity. That moment showed me the truth. That moment freed me from hoping for something Derek was never going to give. Here's what I learned. Pay attention to small moments. Pay attention to how your partner shows up. Pay attention when someone is no longer hungry for you, for your presence, for building a life with you. Don't wait for a dramatic betrayal. Don't wait for someone to admit they've moved on. Watch for the small signs, the way they eat without you, the way they come home already full, the way they stop noticing the care you've taken. And when you see those signs, believe them. Don't explain them away. Don't convince yourself you're imagining things.
Don't keep cooking and hoping for someone who stopped being hungry a long time ago. Because you deserve someone who is absolutely starving for you. You deserve someone who can't wait to sit at your table. You deserve someone who will always choose to eat the meal you've prepared, not because they're obligated, but because being with you is what they want most. Derek taught me something I didn't expect to learn. My absence from someone's life can be just as powerful as my presence. My refusal to keep showing up for someone who stopped showing up for me, that's where my real power lies. So, I took one bite of that dinner, and then I never cooked for Derek again. And I learned that sometimes walking away from the table is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. This is my story, and this is my freedom.